dropped her off on Main Street, and she carried you across Main Street. And Dr. Snow was the pediatrician, as I recall. And then she was going to take my sweater in to be blocked at CCMI. And so we dropped her off and watched her walk across the street with us last time we saw her alive. She went to the CCMI. People told us, people kept coming to us and saying, "We saw your mother. She looked wonderful. She looked well." And that morning she had said, "I feel so good today. I feel like I'd like to stay home and pack, but I've got all these other things to do." We were going to move the following Monday, and that's why she wanted to pack. And so we went to, Dad and I left her and went on out to the cabin and hosted the party at the cabin. And so all this was going on. And the word came across the creek to my dad that Mother was ill. She really was dead. But they didn't tell him that. What they did is they called Aunt Nan. Aunt Nan had a phone. They called her.
She lived on the other side of the creek, the north side of the creek.
Okay. And he came over to our side on the swinging bridge.
Ah.
So somebody came down the road from Aunt Nan's and across the swinging bridge up to the cabin. So Dad left, and they didn't say anything to me particularly. I mean, I just knew that he had left. And then it was about, a few minutes later, or a half an hour or so, Bishop Kimball and his wife were there. And
at the party.
At the party. And they said to me, "We need to take you to where your mother is." They put me in the car, and on the way in, Bishop Kimball said, "We need to tell you that your mother has passed away." My immediate reaction was, and I really just outburst, I said, "Oh, I didn't go up and down stairs enough for her." Mm. If I had saved her from those stairs, then I really blamed myself for not doing enough to relieve her.
Right.
Dr. Robbins, Burtis Robbins, delivered you.
Right. Yeah.
And he was at the Medical Arts Building. He had his office there. And so after she went to the CCMI with my sweater, she had decided that because we were moving on Monday, she wanted to show Dr. Robbins how you were now, 5 months old, because he hadn't seen you since you were a tiny until he delivered you. And so she got there at about 5:45 or 6, and she was sitting in his outer office because she knew she didn't want to disturb his patients. Finishing up his patients at 6.
6 p.m.?
Yeah, about 6.
Around there, okay.
Around there. And she was sitting there. Well, she had Peter in her arms, and she said to the nurse, who was a very good friend, "I wonder if I could go into a room and nurse Peter." So because she was giving him supplemental formula, but she was also still nursing. And she went in and nursed. A nurse was sitting there nursing you, and about 6:15, she said to the nurse, she said, "I don't feel well. I really don't feel well." And she felt she had some kind of a pain. And so the nurse brought the doctor in immediately. They brought in the pulmotor.
This was Dr. Robbins.
Uh-huh. they saw immediately that it was heart, and so they even had her, they gave her some black coffee to see if that would help. But by 6:35, she was gone. And so they kept her there at the office. They did not let let her go to the mortuary until I got there. Because when Dad was there, he said, "No, don't go. We aren't taking her any place until Anna Lou gets here." So I can remember that when I walked into the doctor's office, there was Ray, who was the nurse. She had you in her arms. And she walked over and handed, I get teary-eyed when I think about it. She took you over and said, "Here he is, he's your baby." So and then Aunt Jenny, you know how emotional Aunt Jenny, if you ever remember Aunt Jenny, she was falling apart. I mean, we went home, and by the news had spread, I don't know how fast it had spread, but it had spread so fast. Well, I guess people at the
party.
At the
so
party,
the whole ward knew almost instantly.
So our house was filling with people, and Aunt Jenny was unglued, and they were trying. And Aunt Jenny they were trying to comfort her because she was extremely emotional, and so I came in
with me,
with you in my arms, and so somebody took you from Emmy and carried you around while I went in because Mother had gone to the doctor and gotten a new formula, and so there was a can of formula and the new prescription for mixing it. So I had to go in and figure that out in the kitchen because you hadn't eaten. I mean, she nursed you at 6 o'clock, but you hadn't had anything, and here it is 10 o'clock, or 10:30. And so I got the formula made. We got you fed. The house vacated, and then Dad and I can remember we could not sleep. We just simply, I mean, the mortician had taken my mother. Well, I mean, she had gone. I mean, had gone home, but we couldn't. I can remember that night. We couldn't sleep. Neither one of us.
And so
the next day was
just
Sunday. This was a Saturday that she died, right?
I think it was Friday.
Oh, Friday.
Peter went to sleep.
and were you talking most of the night, or was
Yeah,
it just
no,
Sure,
crying and?
We talked a little bit. I mean,
Dad just must have been.
we were just.
He was still.
We were in a state of shock because Mother had been. The thing is, Mother had always said that she would not live a long life. She knew that she was not going to live to be old. And because I can remember ironing my clothes or that and saying, "Oh, what if my mother dies?" You know, I mean, I used to worry about it. The next day, of course, I mean, those were hard days. People were bringing food, and you know how when somebody dies and that.
Yeah.
And so people coming, people going, and funeral arrangements, and I remember talking to Dr. Robbins one day or a little later, and asked him. I said, would she be here today if she hadn't had the baby? I said, I'm responsible for her wanting to get that baby. And he said, well, let me put it this way. Okay, if she hadn't had the baby, she might have lived 5 more years. Now, I leave it to you to decide. Would you have preferred her to have lived 5 more years without the baby than to have had those 5 wonderful months with the baby? And I said, well, put it that way. Of course.
Well, I'm glad she had the baby.
And so, you know, I always remembered 5 years, 5 months versus 5 months of sheer, and it was, I have to say, Mother had said to me, she said, I don't want you to go to work. I want you to help me take care of this baby. She said, we've never had a baby. So she said, I want you to help me take care of it.
So you got good training.
Yeah, I mean, I
Because you
stayed
were-
with her, and
Yeah.
she faithfully would take you out for a sunbath every day.
Yeah.
She wanted to take care of you by the rules.